Joe Rogan and Candace Owens are straight up calling out some wild inconsistencies in Charlie Kirk's case. They're saying things just don't line up, and once you hear what they uncovered, you'll see why everyone's freaking out and asking questions.
I want to say one more thing rather explosively.
Joe Rogan and Candace Owens aren't just whispering, they're sounding the alarm, and honestly, you're right to be curious because what they're exposing is wild. In this clip, you'll hear exactly what Joe said about those sketchy details that make zero sense. Candace even dropped her own findings, and trust me, her investigation shook the room. We're talking about weapons that couldn't possibly exist, mystery suspects popping up at every major scene, text messages that sound totally staged, and a widow acting way too calm for what happened. This whole situation feels off from top to bottom, and now everyone's starting to wake up and demand answers.
I want to say one more thing rather explosively. 3 people told me off record. 2 people who have this in a written communication.
Before diving into all the shady details, let's get the basics straight. Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, wasn't just some random political name. He was a major voice in conservative circles, only 31 years old and already running huge events. On September 10th, 2025, during a student Q&A at Utah Valley University, tragedy struck. He was shot and killed right there in front of everyone. And get this, just 33 hours later, cops arrested a 22-year-old named Tyler Robinson. They said, "That's our guy," and wrapped it up like it was an open and shut case. But here's where things start looking real suspicious. Candace Owens dug deeper and found some seriously creepy stuff. The day before he died, Charlie told 3 different people he thought someone was going to kill him. 3 separate warnings, gone ignored. Even Joe Rogan called the official version bizarre, pointing out how nothing lines up. The weapons don't make sense, the timeline's impossible, and the suspect list feels totally random. Let's break down what they uncovered because once you see it all, you'll be asking the same questions everyone else is.
The very day before Charlie Kirk died, he expressed that he thought he was going to be killed. He told these people, "I think they're going to kill me." Okay? He did not express that to me, so I am telling you this based off the testimony of 3 people. And I am saying this because I hope that these people, who I think are good, will be inspired to come forward with that. Now, again, those conversations I had were off record. I honor that. If I say it's off record, it stays off record. But I'm hoping that watching what I am doing and feeling the energy that is rising across the world for people who want to know what the heck happened at 9/10, that, they will be brave and they will say, yeah, Charlie did the day before he died think that he was going to be killed, and maybe tell us, who is they? Well, for once and for all, who is they? Who is the they that he thought were going to kill him?
Let's start with the part that'll send chills down your spine. Candace Owens dropped a bomb that somehow didn't make front page news, but it should have. The day before Charlie Kirk died, he told 3 different people he thought someone was going to kill him. Not weeks before, not months before, the day before. And this isn't just talk. 2 of those people have written messages from Charlie himself, real texts showing he knew something bad was coming. Candace said, 3 people told me off the record. 2 have this in writing from Charlie. The very day before he died, he said he thought he was going to be killed. He told them, "I think they're going to kill me." Think about that for a second. Charlie knew. He warned people. And less than 24 hours later, he was gone. So here's the question. Who are they? Who did Charlie think was after him? And why is nobody digging into this? Candace wants the people he warned to come forward, but right now the whole thing's being brushed under the rug, and that's seriously suspicious. But it gets even crazier. Candace uncovered that on the exact day Charlie was killed, a military plane flew from Texas straight to Utah. That plane showed up right around the exact moment Charlie was shot, and then it swooped dangerously low over the area. Tail number N1098L. Why on earth would a military plane be there at that precise time? And what was it doing flying that low? Candace dug deeper and found that the plane used to belong to Lacey Aviation, LLC, but was being contracted out to someone mysterious. No one's saying who. And here's where things start looking real shady. Candace has been saying from day one, the more you peel back the onion, it's obvious this was a military operation. If this was really just one 22-year-old acting alone, then explain this. Why was a military plane circling the area like it was part of a mission? That doesn't add up for a so-called random shooting. Candace even called out the FBI director, saying, Hey Kash Patel, most transparent ever except when it comes to Epstein. So what's up with this plane? But guess what? Crickets. No answers, no explanation, nothing but silence. And when people stay quiet about something this obvious, it makes you start asking what they're really trying to hide.
One of them being the plane that people have recognized is military. That's tail number N1098L. So this plane left from Texas, went over to Utah right about the time that Charlie got assassinated. It dipped real low. It seemed like who knows what this plane was being sent there for, but the fact that this plane had been used in the military rightfully alerted people to the fact that they may have had some knowledge. This plane may have had some knowledge of what was going to occur. But one thing I want to clarify for you is that plane was being contracted. You guys noticed that it was owned by LaSalle Aviation LLC. We are awaiting more information, but I just wanted to let you know that you recognize that. It is strange. It did happen. There's no question. I've been saying from the beginning, this was a military operation. It's very obvious. The more you peel back the onion, it is very obvious that this was a military operation. So it's fitting that you would have a plane that the military certainly uses.
Now let's talk about what Joe Rogan uncovered. Because the second he heard the official weapon story, he called BS right away. According to the report, Tyler Robinson supposedly used his grandfather's World War I rifle, an antique with no serial number. Already sounds sketchy, right? Why would a 22-year-old choose a 100-year-old gun when there are easier modern options out there? But it gets even crazier. Authorities claim Tyler took the rifle apart, shoved the pieces into a backpack, climbed onto a rooftop, and reassembled it before firing. Joe Rogan couldn't believe it. He even said, "They said he took it apart and put it back together again?" Come on, do you know how long that would take even for someone trained? It's not gonna fit. Not gonna fit. And Joe's absolutely right. Have you ever seen a World War I rifle? Those things are massive, heavy, long, and built like tanks. You can't just snap one apart and toss it in a backpack like it's a Nerf gun, even if somehow you could. Reassembling it would take time, tools, and serious training. There's no way a random 22-year-old pulls that off in broad daylight on a rooftop while people are walking below. Joe summed it up perfectly. None of this makes sense. And honestly, he's right. The weapon story completely falls apart the moment you start asking basic questions.
The other thing, they said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the fuck up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not gonna fit. Not gonna fit.
In a backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof. What? This story is horseshit. Like, none of these things make any sense to me. Like, you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof, he shoots, he jumps from the roof. He jumps down 14 feet.
Now this next part is straight up wild. The decoy guy. This is where the whole story goes off the rails. Joe Rogan brought up an older man who showed up at the scene right after the shooting and started yelling, "I did it! I did it!" And then get this, he even dropped his pants right there in public. Yeah, seriously, already bizarre, right? But it gets way darker. That same man has allegedly been spotted at multiple major tragedies. 9/11, the Boston bombing, even other incidents where fake bomb threats were made. What are the chances of that? Joe Rogan nailed it when he asked, how are you at all these different things? What are the odds? If you ran that through one of those AI analyzers, the odds would be like 0. So what's going on here? Either this guy has the worst luck in human history, or something way more calculated is happening. Maybe he's not just some random unhinged dude. Maybe he's a plant, someone placed at the scene to cause chaos and confusion, just like Joe suggested. And here's where it gets even sketchier. Right after the Charlie Kirk shooting, this same decoy guy gets arrested. But not for anything connected to the case. Nope. He gets locked up for unrelated charges, which conveniently means nobody can talk to him about what really went down. I mean, come on. Does that sound like a coincidence to you? Because to Joe, and to a lot of people watching, there's no way that's random.
There was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombings.
All the hits.
He called in a fake bomb at another place, and then he did this at this thing. Right after, so somehow or another, this guy has the state of mind that the moment someone gets shot, he yells out and says, I did it, and takes his pants down or something like that. I don't know exactly what he did. Then, ready for this? He gets arrested for child porn.
Now we've got to talk about Tyler Robinson's family, because what they told Candace Owens completely flips the media's version of events. The mainstream story says Tyler's dad realized his son was guilty and bravely turned him in. That's the feel-good, good dad does the right thing headline everyone ran with. But according to Candace, that's not what happened at all. She spoke directly to people close to the Robinsons, and they told her straight up, Tyler's parents don't believe he did it. They're standing firm that their son was not the killer. Candace even said, what I've learned is that his father does not believe, his parents don't believe, that their son committed this crime. So who actually turned Tyler in? Candace says it wasn't his dad. It was a family friend, someone who used to be a police detective. That guy reportedly told the Robinsons that Tyler had been identified as the shooter and warned him to turn himself in quietly, or the SWAT team would show up. Tyler was shocked. He flat out denied killing Charlie Kirk and told them he'd never even been on the UVU campus. Candace's sources confirmed he was accepted to Utah State University, not Utah Valley. So how could he possibly know the UVU rooftop layout well enough to climb between buildings and pull off a perfect shot? None of it adds up, and that's exactly what has people talking. The official story doesn't even try to explain that part. And here's where it gets even weirder. Candace's source said Tyler was somewhere near the campus that day, which might explain that Dairy Queen photo floating around online. But hold up. If he never went to UVU, what was he doing anywhere close by? Too many questions, not nearly enough answers.
Most interest to me, what I've learned, is that his father does not believe, his parents don't believe that their son committed this crime. I was like, huh? Excuse me? That's a far cry from what the media has been telling us. Remember, the media presented this amazing story. The father realized his son was guilty, so it goes, right? And then he phoned over a friend to help him convince his son to turn himself in, because this guy, you know, this mysterious guy was a friend and just had a connection with Tyler. And eventually they said, you got to do the right thing here. We know this is you. That was the vibe. Certainly, that's what the media was putting down for us to pick up.
Now we've got to talk about something that's making a lot of people uncomfortable. Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica. Nobody wants to question a grieving widow. It feels harsh, but too many folks are noticing things that just don't sit right. Nick Fuentes was the first to say it publicly, but honestly, he's only voicing what a lot of people have been whispering. Just 72 hours after Charlie's death, 3 days, Erica stepped in and took control of Turning Point USA. She was filming content, hosting shows, and smiling on camera like nothing happened. Nick said, "It's one thing if your husband dies. It's another if he's 31 and gets publicly executed in front of a crowd. And he's not wrong. How do you bounce back from something like that in only 3 days? If your husband was shot in front of thousands of screaming people, wouldn't you need time to breathe, to grieve?" Nick added, "Everyone's thinking it. No one wants to say it because it sounds cruel, but it's weird, it's off, and I don't like it." And he's got a point. Something about it just feels strange. Now, sure, everyone grieves differently. Maybe Erica's way of coping is staying busy. But when you add in reports that money was missing from the organization and that Charlie was planning a major audit right before he died, it's no longer just gossip. It's a serious question that people can't ignore. Now, about that audit, because this might be the key that unlocks everything. Just 1 week before Charlie Kirk died, he announced a massive internal investigation into Turning Point USA's finances. He said straight up that millions of dollars were missing and he was going to uncover where the money went and who was behind it. 1 week later, he's gone. You don't need to be a detective to see why that timing feels way too convenient. Candace Owens also shared something that gave everyone chills. She had a vivid dream where Charlie appeared to her and said he'd been betrayed. You don't have to believe in dreams, but Candace does, and she's convinced it means something big is coming. She said, "I don't know who betrayed him, but I felt in the dream that it's going to be revealed soon, inevitable even, and it will have international consequences." That's a huge statement. International consequences? What could Charlie have discovered that reached that far? And here's what really makes people uneasy. Why aren't the people closest to Charlie demanding answers? Candace pointed out that Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and herself are all pushing for the truth, but the folks who worked with Charlie every single day, total silence. Candace said, "Why hasn't anybody made the move to vindicate what I've been saying about what he was going through?" That silence registers to me as very suspicious, and she's got a point. If your friend and co-worker was killed right after exposing missing millions, wouldn't you want answers too?
I don't know. It's one thing if your husband dies, period. It's another thing if your husband dies at age 31, unexpectedly. It's another thing if your 31-year-old husband unexpectedly dies because he gets publicly executed with blood gushing out in front of thousands of people screaming and running away. That's like something that's...
Let's rewind to when it all first went down. Joe Rogan's reaction on his podcast shows just how shocking this was. He was recording live when the news broke that Charlie Kirk had been shot, and you can hear the disbelief in his voice. This just happened. We just found out Charlie Kirk got shot. Looking awful. Is he dead? Joe was scrambling for information in real time, checking Twitter, trying to figure out what was going on. You can hear how surreal it all felt to him. It doesn't seem real. It's very surreal. It's going to take a long time before we can even reference this as something that happened, he said. He also highlighted how divided the country is and how some people actually celebrated Charlie's death just because they disagreed with his politics. No one deserves this, Joe said. No one, just because they have different opinions. But I know people are going to celebrate. It's a messed up time and people have fallen into this us versus them trap. And he was right. Some people did celebrate, and that's not just shocking, it's disturbing.
Someone says she doesn't believe Charlie Kirk was killed by Tyler Robinson because Kirk appeared to her in a dream. Yeah, this is what I wanted to get to real quick.
Said, had a vivid dream this weekend, and Charlie came to me and he told me that he was betrayed. And so for me, you don't have to believe that, but I do believe that. I sure hope if I was assassinated in front of the world that he would raise hell to figure out what actually took place in that day. That's not being a friend. A friend is not someone who stays silent when lies are being told by the federal government. That's not a friend. Again, emotionally manipulative.
So why does any of this matter? Why should you even care that Joe Rogan and Candace Owens are tearing apart the official story? Because when people with real influence start raising red flags, it usually means something seriously off. When the details don't line up, that's not conspiracy talk, that's just common sense. Candace Owens even said she's been attacked just for asking questions. People told her to stay quiet and let the family grieve, but she fired back saying, "They want us to believe that the best way to honor Charlie is to shut up," the exact opposite of what he literally dedicated his life to doing, asking questions. And she's right. Charlie Kirk built his entire career on challenging the narrative and debating ideas, so the real way to honor him is to keep asking what really happened to him. Joe Rogan also made a sharp point about all the confusion. He said, "If you want people to lose faith that anything will ever get solved, you flood the system with crazy details that make no sense and push them all at once." And maybe that's the real trick. Maybe all these weird, conflicting stories are meant to scramble the truth so badly that nobody can tell what's real anymore.
This just happened. We just found out that Charlie Kirk got shot.
It's awful.
And is he dead?
That's what was just
One of the guys out there just said it was
spoken
confirmed that
in
he's
the
dead.
in the lobby was just
I've been looking. I haven't seen anything that said confirmed.
Whoa.
murder for having a different opinion from somebody else.
Yeah.
Different ideology from somebody else.
Let's bring this all together, because Joe Rogan and Candace Owens have both thrown serious shade on the official story behind Charlie Kirk's death. We've got a weapon story that makes zero sense, a strange decoy suspect who somehow keeps popping up at every major tragedy, and Charlie himself warning people the day before that he thought he was going to be killed.
Answering questions, turning points. Answering the questions is what he was doing in the second that he died, okay? And we all are feeling spiritually the same way, so I'm just gonna say it. They're not grieving right. It's not up to us to decide how people grieve, but I will say unequivocally that you shouldn't grieve by lying or by gaslighting. Is that fair? Can we all agree? You should not grieve by lying and gaslighting the public.
You add a bunch of, if you're gonna kill a guy, you add a bunch of other wacky shit that doesn't make any sense, and you spam it out there at the same time. You leave a gun that didn't do it out in the woods. You do a bunch of shit like that.
Add to that a military plane circling overhead, a widow who took over the entire organization just 72 hours after his death, and millions of dollars mysteriously missing from the group Charlie was about to audit, and you've got a situation that feels way too messy to be a coincidence. So here's the real question. Was this really just one 22-year-old acting on his own, or is something much bigger happening behind the scenes? Nobody's giving straight answers, and the story's got more holes than Swiss cheese. When people like Joe Rogan and Candace Owens start digging, maybe it's time the rest of us start paying closer attention too. What's your take? Do these inconsistencies sound suspicious to you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I actually read them all. And if you want to keep up with what unfolds next, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because something tells me this story is far from over.